Hi, my name is Alistair Punton. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Storylines. I'm here today in Chicago, the Windy City, speaking at this wonderful event, Build, all about senior housing and how Storylines and senior housing can work together with their customers for the independent living space. So come along and have a listen to my talk.
Please welcome to the stage Alistair Punton, co-CEO and founder of Storylines, and Tim Mullaney.
All right, everyone get excited because it's time to talk about senior living on the cruise ship. So the way this is going to work is that Alistair is going to talk about the Storylines concept and where senior living might fit into it. And then I've got some questions for him, and we are taking audience questions, so fire up the Slido. And with that, I'll hand it over to Alistair.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Who doesn't like to live on a cruise ship, right? So we're Storylines. We're the world's first affordable cruise ship live-in option. So a cruise condo vessel. The vessel itself has actually reconfigured it now to 670 residences, 230 odd meters long. You can see there on the slide, we've got three half decks on the forward section, which will be completely built from scratch. All the existing decks will be completely remodeled. There's a mixture of cabins that have interior cabins, window, French balconies, and then the big penthouse type suites as well. So as far as the actual refit of this vessel, as it's currently in service, there's a full medical facility on board. So that's obviously the number one question that people ask is, what's the medical facilities? So there's a doctor, there's nurses, there's physio, those type of services on board and available. A helipad for medevacs, a yacht-style resident area as well. That's on top of the forward deck 14 there. The whole styling of the ship is designed to be that super yacht experience. And everything that we've put into the design brief has been all about privacy. Although you're on a cruise ship, you still need to have that element of privacy being a full-time liveaboard solution. We've got the market garden and the kitchens available, so residents can even cook their own food, so you don't have to be waited on hand and foot, although that is an amazing thing to have. People still like the idea of being able to make a peanut butter sandwich. Or of course, they're full kitchens, so you can make any food you like, entertain for friends and family and all that as well. There's a choice of over 9 dining options, so we've completely removed the 800-seat dining hall in the deck 8, and we've turned that into what you might class as like a Main Street USA type situation. So what I mean by that is 8 to 10 smaller restaurants, 60 to 80 packs each, and each of those will have different decor, so it might be a Chinese restaurant, an Italian restaurant, a pizzeria. So you can walk into that space and find privacy and different menu options. So there's always something different to have. And then there's a marina for ocean access as well. So for your kayaks and jet skis and all the toys, all those things are available. So we've spent most of our time on working on the resident experience. I know you've heard that word a lot today. We spent most of our time in the redesign working out what exactly do people want when they live on a cruise ship, because it's quite different to living on land. Although our cruise schedule is quite unique as well, we spent 3.5 years on average for a circumnavigation. So that means we can spend longer in ports. So we can engage with the local communities. We can really get involved. We spend weeks and months in regions rather than just a day or half a day. So that's the fundamental difference in our cruise schedule. It's very affordable as well, so from $300,000 and up. So it's quite affordable to most people. And the annual fees on those start from around the sort of $1,900 mark per person per month. So that's quite affordable. And I know they were talking before about San Francisco being completely unaffordable. That's obviously on the extreme end, but for most major sort of US cities, we're very comparable. And those fees, just to be clear, that covers food, drinks, alcohol, some shore excursions, medical facilities. It's an all-inclusive package. Okay. Okay.
All right. So, can you talk a little bit more about the potential for senior living providers to get involved in this? And I think you recently started to present this idea to senior living providers. So what has the response been, and what ideas have they proposed, or have you proposed to them about their involvement?
Yeah, so like you said, we've presented this to a few providers, and there's very good interest there, of course. The fundamental thing that they see out of this is a potential for them to have a differentiating factor. So if there's development A and development B, and they're exactly the same, you don't want to race to the bottom of price, so you can value add to their end users. And that can be in the sense of 2 to 3 months on board the ship every year, or they might want to come and live on the ship for a year before they move into the independent living space, a land-based independent living option.
Got it. And I think you'd mentioned that there was even an idea that it could be offered as a perk to staff if the senior living provider owns cabins on the ship, that they could send staff members.
Absolutely, and that's been a big thing as well. Independent living staff can't usually work from remotely like a lot of other industries can, but it can definitely be a perk, and that's something that there has been quite a lot of interest in, not only in this sector, but across the board as well.
Great. And can you talk about, I guess, A, have any senior living providers committed to purchasing cabins? And can you talk about the interest you've had even from other groups, or how it would work in terms of, do you purchase a deck, do you purchase a single cabin, et cetera?
Yes, so we've only just started down this road from the senior housing space. It has been very well received. I've already had some great conversations here today and also yesterday. They can purchase blocks, they can purchase decks. If someone wants to purchase a complete deck, and you'll notice on the previous slide, the Deck 7 isn't actually included on the website simply because that has already been purchased by a group. So yeah, we're open to those type of arrangements. The ideal for if it's a smaller operator that might be 5 to 10 cabins, where it's big enough for them to have an influence on their land-based operation, and also be able to use it for the perks for their staff as well.
And in those conversations you're having with senior living, can you talk about some of the concerns? I know you mentioned that everyone's first question is what are the medical facilities? What are some other concerns or questions that are common in these conversations with senior living?
The medical has been a big one, of course. And going back to your previous question, if someone was to take a whole deck, for example, then we could look at perhaps installing more medical facilities to facilitate that. Obviously, we've got the doctors on board, the nurses, physios, those type of things. But if we needed extra nurses, we can accommodate those type of things. There's enough room on a ship this size. Although it's classed in the cruise industry as a medium-sized cruise ship, there will be around up to 1,250 odd passengers. We expect more likely around 900 passengers at any one time. So there's a huge amount of space. So if we needed to add more of those auxiliary services, there's ability to do that.
Great, and I know you mentioned some of the amenities already and the need for privacy and sort of not having, I think it'd be kind of a booze cruise feel, but I'm wondering if you can speak more to the lifestyle on board, and specifically I think we hear the phrase thrown around that senior living is like a cruise ship on land, and I think a lot of people have a negative reaction to that because they say, senior living should be about engagement. Our residents actually want to feel a sense of purpose. They don't just want to sit by the pool with a margarita all day.
Right, and the residents obviously have the option to do that. But we're about enriching experiences. So everything that we've designed is to enable the residents to be involved. So Storyline sets, I guess, the ideas in motion, and it's up to the residents to really take that and adapt it and evolve it to suit their wants and needs. And I'll give you an example of that. There's a microbrewery on board. So a lot of people like to brew their own beers in their garage. So by living on the ship, do you lose that ability? Well, no, you don't, because there's a microbrewery. You can get involved with that. So it's not just a passive thing that you can watch and see and you drink the beer, but you can also get involved with the brewmaster, with a group of your friends who also share that same interest, and go out and source local ingredients to bring back to the ship to create the beers for everyone to enjoy. And that carries on to the wine bar, where there's a community chest of wine from the actual residents. The library, for example, not only is it the books that we stock in the library, but also the residents have the opportunity to bring on books themselves. So that creates engagement when we sit down for at the dinner at one of the restaurants and I see that you've read one of my books. It's a conversation we can start. And we've used that same principle across the board on everything on the ship. And if there's anything that we've missed and there's a group of 20-odd people who want to do one thing, whatever it might be, there's facilities and ability to be able to do that and implement that onto the ship as well. So it's an active environment.
Great, and then can you talk about what the resale process would involve if I'm a senior living provider and I purchase a block and then it's not working out for whatever reason, is it possible to sell it then?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just, in that respect, it's exactly like a land-based property. You can sell it, you can rent it. There are limits to who can come on board and how long for. For example, the shortest term ticket if you don't own or a friend and family would be 3 months. And that maintains the quality of the people on board. As you said, that booze cruise scenario you don't want to get into. So by having that minimum 3-month world cruise segment, we call them, it means that you're only getting people coming on board who want to live that lifestyle, because that's effectively what it is we're selling. It's a lifestyle opportunity.
And this isn't the first time, I think, that we've heard the idea of somehow incorporating senior living into a cruise ship. And I think that in the past, these ideas haven't really come to fruition. So how do you sort of differentiate what Storylines is doing from some of these past concepts?
Yeah, look, and it's, I guess, the right thing at the right time. The market is ready for it now. The cruise market itself is ready. If you go on a cruise, you'll probably most likely find someone who's doing a back-to-back sort of cruise. So the demand is there, just from a cruise perspective. And then when you add in the other element of senior housing, then that's a whole new market segment. So why are we different? We focused most of our energy, like I said before, on the lifestyle side of it. So making sure that we hit that brief, number one, what is it people want to be living on board that ship full time, to keep them engaged and to keep them living there. That was the number one priority for us.
And I think some of the past ideas, we're also trying to build ships from scratch. This is a kind of retrofit, right, of an existing ship?
Exactly. So, the fundamental difference, I guess, is, we've got the ship, whereas some of these other people have had an idea, may have been too early or half-baked or not enough energy put into it. I can't speak to them. But yeah, we spent a lot of time on that, the research and development, before we even went out to market. Even once we had the ship, we spent another 6 months just really refining what it is people want.
Okay, great. Let's see what questions we have from the audience. Here's someone who's wondering, how does the adult, child, and family visit the resident? Is there a cost just to board the ship?
Right, so, and that's a great question. So, that word multi-generational has been thrown around a lot today, and we absolutely hit that brief. And in fact, we've already got residents who will be coming on board with their children who are already homeschooling, and this is just another version of that for them. So they're selling their homes and coming on board. And so we expect a small portion of kids on board the ship at any one time. So there will be facilities. There won't be the rock climbing walls and those type of things you might find on other cruise ships, but there will be facilities for them. And that's great for that multi-generational side of it. And to answer your question, friends and family can come on board. There are cabins available for them to use. There is a small cost associated with that, of course. That covers all their dues on board, so that allows them to have all the same access to everything on board the ship.
And are there legal issues with having a floating senior living community in international waters? Have regulatory concerns come up at all?
Yeah, it's a legal minefield in that respect, because you've got the ship flagged in one state, you've got residents coming from another jurisdiction, all these different jurisdictions, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to the flag state. So that's the fundamental law. When you move into territorial waters, then it changes, but it's quite a deep question, and it's really more of a specific thing that you need to talk to one-on-one with the individual, whoever asked that question, to actually answer that properly to their needs with their consumers. But effectively, it all comes down to the flag state, so that's the most important thing to think about.
Got it. And how about insurance coverage in international waters? I guess for the resident who'd be sailing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're working with a number of the major underwriters at the moment. The US health system is interesting at the best of times. I'm obviously not a US citizen, I'm from Australia, as you might be able to tell from my voice. But yeah, we're working with a number of the providers right now to provide a solution for them to live on board full time and still have all the same coverage that they'd expect living land-based in the US.
And do you see the sort of floating condo appreciating in value over time, or what happens to that, if it's 3 million plus unit?
Yeah, so what we've got in place is the ability for anyone who purchases it now, that at the end of the useful life of this ship, which will be 21 years, that they would then get to roll over into a future ship. So from their perspective, it's more of a perpetuity type arrangement. Will it appreciate or depreciate? On a long enough timeline, it only has to go one way, as a cruise ship has a limited lifespan. But with that rollover effect, we've sort of mitigated that. But in the short term, depending on supply and demand, I can see where it's going. There's only one other example of this globally, and currently that's seen appreciation. It has been for the last 7 to 10 years. So who knows?
And I guess that gets into another line of questioning, which is about, this is the first ship. Can you talk about just logistically what the timeline is for getting this in the water under the Storylines model? And then into the future, are there plans for other ships?
Well, we've got this ship right now, so this is the number one focus. We spent the last 4 months developing the product specific to this ship, and just gone out into the market a month or so ago. The timeline for this should have this on the water in June, July next year.
And is that is it initially embarking? I think you said from Portugal. Is that right?
At the moment, from Portugal. We're just in the process of locking down the yard. It will be a European yard, so Portugal's sort of in the middle, which makes it quite easy.
Great. Can unit owners put their unit into a rental pool of some sort?
Yeah, absolutely. So if one of your consumers or yourselves wanted to purchase but weren't wanting to use it, or you let your consumers use it for a period of time, we can then rent that out for you, and there's a rental return on that. So it's a cash positive position to be in.
All right, great. I think that covers all of our questions. So, Alistair, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim.